Hey there, amazing friends. I warmly invite you to join me on this exciting journey by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer together and fuels my passion to create more great content. Your support truly makes all the difference. Thank you for being the heart of this community. Time Traveler's Confessions, Secrets Trapped Between Past and Future. A Chronomancer's Lament Prologue. A whisper beyond time, in the dead of night, under a vault of shimmering stars, a solitary figure stood on a windswept cliff overlooking a restless sea. His eyes, heavy with centuries of sorrow, were fixed on an ancient pocket watch whose hands spun erratically as if defying the natural order. He was known only as the Chronomancer, a traveler of time whose confessions were hidden in the folds of history. For he had seen empires rise and fall, loved and lost more than mortal hearts could endure, and carried secrets so profound that even the passage of time could not erase them. The Chronomancer's story begins not with a single journey, but with an unyielding burden: the knowledge that every moment, every decision creates ripples that reverberate across centuries. And so, beneath the eerie glow of a timeless moon, he whispered to the wind, "Time holds more than memory. It holds the truth of who we are." The rift of ancient echoes long before clocks ticked and calendars marked our days. Legends told of mystical rifts in the fabric of time, portals through which the past and future converged. In the cradle of ancient civilizations, wise men and seers recorded omens of days when time itself would unravel. In dusty scrolls of a forgotten Sumerian temple, one finds cryptic verses speaking of the hour when shadows speak, and the lament of those unbound by time. It was in this primordial era that the first time travelers were said to have emerged, not as mere mortals, but as custodians of secret knowledge. They were known as the Eternals, individuals blessed or cursed with the power to step beyond the confines of linear time. Their journeys, often shrouded in mystery and marked by inexplicable apparitions, laid the groundwork for what would eventually be known as Time Traveler's Confessions. Over centuries, these custodians became spectral figures in folklore, whispered about in the courts of emperors and the back alleys of medieval cities. Some said they altered the fates of kings. Others believed they carried warnings of disasters yet to come. Yet, as the world modernized, the truth of their existence was dismissed as myth. Still, in hidden corners of history, clues remained: a faded portrait of a mysterious traveler with eyes that seemed to know the future, a journal penned in archaic symbols hinting at forbidden voyages, and the unmistakable ticking of a pocket watch that defied decay. Confessions from the corridors of time. Fast forward to a rainy night in 1923, when a battered steam locomotive rattled along a forgotten track in Eastern Europe. In a dimly lit carriage, a woman named Elena sat alone, her eyes distant, as if recalling a lifetime of secrets. Elena was not merely a traveler by chance. She was one of those rare souls who had crossed the threshold of time. In hushed tones over clattering wheels and the distant thunder, she recounted her extraordinary journey, how she once stepped into a portal hidden in a crumbling archway beneath an ancient monastery, only to emerge decades in the future. Her voice trembled as she spoke of the echoes of tomorrow that haunted her. Elena described meeting a man from a future world where technology and nature had merged into something unrecognizable, a world where humans communicated with machines, and the past was preserved like a cherished relic. She admitted that, for years afterward, she had been tormented by visions of events that never should have been. "I heard cries from children who had yet to be born, warnings of tragedies that I could not prevent," she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears. These confessions, recorded in a battered leather journal, would later resurface among underground circles of time theory enthusiasts. Elena's tale was one of both wonder and profound sorrow, a glimpse into the fragile nature of destiny and the heavy price of knowledge. A modern awakening in the bustling corridors of New York City in the early 21st century, a young physicist named Marcus found himself inexplicably drawn to the concept of time travel. Obsessed with the idea that the boundaries between past and future were more permeable than society believed, Marcus began scouring old libraries and obscure websites for hints of secret experiments and hidden technologies. Late one night, while sifting through a collection of declassified government documents, he stumbled upon a series of cryptic memos referring to temporal displacements and Project Chronos. Determined to learn more, Marcus joined a clandestine network of researchers who called themselves the Temporal Vanguard. This small group believed that time travel was not only possible, but that it had been practiced in secret by elite operatives for decades. Their investigations uncovered startling accounts, anomalies in stock market data, unexplained historical events, even whispered confessions from individuals claiming to have experienced time shifts. Marcus soon encountered a reclusive figure known only as the Archivist, who maintained an extensive digital repository of time-related anomalies. In hushed online chats and secret meetings, the Archivist recounted stories of encounters with mysterious travelers, of hidden experiments carried out during the Cold War, and of modern-day incidents where people inexplicably found themselves in different eras. One such testimony described a group of individuals who vanished in the midst of a protest in 1978, only to reappear decades later with no recollection of the intervening years. The idea that the past and future were not fixed, but fluid, filled Marcus with both awe and dread. As Marcus and his newfound colleagues pieced together these confessions, they realized that the truth behind time travel was far more complex than anyone had ever imagined. For some, the ability to traverse time came with a terrible cost: memories lost, identities fragmented, and the constant, echoing guilt of altering events that should never be tampered with. Secrets in the tides of time, the temporal convergence deep beneath the neon glow of modern cities, and the silent watch of ancient monuments. There exist fleeting moments when the fabric of time becomes unusually thin. In these instances, the present seems to merge with both the distant past and an uncertain future. Reports from various corners of the globe, fragmented diary entries, inexplicable photographs, and disjointed memories speak of temporal convergences, where echoes of events not yet happened or long forgotten briefly overlap with current reality. One such convergence occurred on a chilly November evening in London. A seasoned bus driver, Mr. Harrington, recounted that during his usual route through an old part of the city, he witnessed a startling anomaly. As he passed a narrow alley near St. Paul's, the air seemed to shimmer like a heat haze, though the night was crisp. In that moment, he saw figures dressed in fashions that belonged to eras long past, walking in slow, ghostly procession along the cobblestones. For several heartbeats, the figures stood silent before vanishing as mysteriously as they had appeared. Mr. Harrington later described hearing faint, mournful cries and a dissonant chorus of voices that seemed to plead for help, as if time itself were in agony. The incident was dismissed by many as a trick of the light or the ramblings of an overworked driver. Yet those who believe in the reality of temporal rifts found in his account a confirmation of their worst and most wondrous fears. That time is not a rigid line, but a fluid river with hidden eddies where secrets from the past and future mingle. Confessions of the time warn in secret gatherings held in the back rooms of underground cafes, individuals who claim to have experienced time travel or witnessed temporal anomalies began to share their stories. One such speaker, known only as Veritas, recounted an experience during the early 1990s when he had inexplicably found himself in a world that resembled a bygone era of Victorian elegance. He described wandering through fog-laden streets, interacting with people whose language and manners were archaic, and even receiving a cryptic warning: "Do not alter the past, for it will alter you." Veritas' confession was both poetic and harrowing. He spoke of the mental toll of knowing future tragedies and the heartbreak of being unable to prevent them. His narrative resonated with the assembled crowd, each person present carrying their own hidden scars from encounters with time. Some had seen events unfold in reverse. Others had experienced moments of déjà vu so profound that they questioned the very nature of reality. These confessions were cataloged by the Temporal Vanguard and later circulated among scholarly circles as evidence that time travel might not be mere fantasy, but a hidden facet of human existence. The price of chronal passage for those who dare to traverse time, the cost is often far greater than they anticipate. Marcus, our young physicist from New York, discovered this painful truth when a routine experiment, an attempt to detect minute anomalies in temporal energy, resulted in a sudden blackout of his memories for several days. He awoke with gaps in his recollection, haunted by images he could neither explain nor place. The experience left him deeply shaken and forced him to confront the possibility that meddling with time might exact a heavy personal toll. Other testimonies told of individuals whose lives had become fractured after repeated time jumps. Some claimed to have lost touch with their original selves, their personal histories splintered into multiple conflicting narratives. One particularly tragic case involved a woman who, after an unplanned time displacement, found herself stuck in a perpetual loop, each cycle erasing a portion of her past and replacing it with echoes of another era. These painful confessions underscored that time travel, if it truly existed, was not a benevolent gift, but a double-edged sword capable of reshaping identities and fates. The guardians of the temporal veil, not all time travelers, are solitary wanderers lost to the currents of time. Some have dedicated their lives to guarding the integrity of the timeline. These individuals, often referred to in hushed tones as the temporal guardians, believe that certain events must remain fixed and that any interference, however small, can trigger catastrophic ripple effects. They operate in secret, monitoring key historical junctures and even intervening when necessary to preserve what they consider the true course of events. One such guardian, a stoic figure known only as Aegis, recounted his experiences in a confidential interview with a group of underground journalists. Aegis spoke of the heavy responsibility borne by those who possess the power to alter time. Every choice, he warned, is a fracture in the continuum. We are the custodians of history, sworn to ensure that the tapestry of time is not unraveled by reckless ambition. His words carried the weight of hard-won wisdom, a reminder that the quest for knowledge and power over time comes at a steep price. Secrets trapped between past and future, the paradox of confessions in a small candlelit room in an abandoned library. A circle of time travelers gathered to share the secrets they had amassed over decades. Their confessions were recorded in secret diaries and digital files, hidden away from prying eyes. Among them was a man who called himself Kronos, who claimed that his journeys through time had revealed a disturbing truth. The future is not set, but constantly reshaped by the choices made in the present. Kronos recounted moments when he witnessed catastrophic events, wars, disasters, revolutions being averted or, conversely, triggered by the subtlest alterations in the timeline. His most haunting confession was that he had once inadvertently caused a ripple that led to the loss of thousands of lives. "I altered a conversation," he murmured, his eyes distant, "and in doing so, I changed the fate of a city. I will carry that burden until the end of my days." The group fell silent, each member acutely aware of the moral quagmire they all faced. Their confessions were not just accounts of wonder and adventure. They were also indictments of the high price paid by those who dare to meddle with time. The technology of time, modern science had long flirted with the idea of time travel through theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, and experiments in temporal displacement. For the members of the temporal vanguard, technology was both a gateway and a prison. Marcus' research, for example, led him to develop a device capable of detecting subtle shifts in temporal energy. In a secret lab hidden beneath the ruins of an old factory, he and his colleagues worked tirelessly to refine their instruments, driven by the hope of understanding the mechanics of time travel and by the fear of what might happen if those forces were unleashed without control. They recorded anomalies in the electromagnetic spectrum that defied conventional explanation, noting that certain wavelengths seemed to carry echoes of voices and images from times long past or yet to come. These temporal signatures became the subject of heated debates and clandestine experiments. The technology was groundbreaking and dangerous. Each experiment was a calculated risk, for every manipulation of temporal energy carried with it the possibility of a paradox. The researchers' journals were filled with equations, diagrams, and cryptic notes detailing their successes and failures. In one entry, Marcus wrote, "We have captured a fragment of tomorrow's light, but it burns with the sorrow of 100 lost futures." The future unwritten, even as the temporal vanguard delved deeper into the mysteries of time, a new crisis loomed: the ethical and existential implications of knowing the future. For some, the ability to glimpse tomorrow offered hope, a chance to prevent disasters or to steer history toward a more just outcome. For others, it was a curse, the relentless burden of knowing what is to come, the inevitability of tragedies that could never be averted. A young traveler known as Nova confessed that she had once seen a vision of a world devastated by conflict, a future where society crumbled under the weight of its own mistrust and despair. "I saw cities in ruins," she whispered, "and I knew that if we did not act, that future would be ours." Her confession spurred heated discussions among the group. Some argued that, armed with foreknowledge, they had a moral duty to change the future, while others warned that any interference might precipitate even greater calamities. The debate was fraught with anguish, for the more one knows about the potential horrors of tomorrow, the heavier the burden of choice becomes. The conflicted conscience time travelers, it seems, are as fallible as the rest of us. The more journeys they undertook, the more they wrestled with the consequences of their actions. In private confessions, several members of the vanguard expressed regret and despair. "I cannot unhear the cries of those I have doomed," wrote Kronos in a tear-stained diary entry. "Each alteration is a scar upon my soul, a fracture in the continuum that I fear may one day shatter reality itself." Their words were a solemn reminder that the gift of time travel is not without its curses. Amid these personal torments, the group sought solace in the hope that someday they might find a way to repair the rifts they had caused. They pored over ancient texts and modern research alike, searching for a theory that could reconcile the paradoxes of time and offer a path toward redemption. Their efforts were tireless, driven by the desire not only to understand time, but to atone for its manipulation. The tapestry of time, intertwined fates. The narrative of time is not linear, but a tangled web where past, present, and future are in constant flux. The confessions of the time travelers revealed a profound truth: that every action resonates across eras. A small gesture in one moment could echo as a monumental event in another. In one of their most harrowing confessions, a traveler named Elias recounted how a seemingly insignificant decision in 1978, an unplanned conversation, a misplaced letter, had altered the outcome of a major historical crisis. "I tried to save a life," he said, voice barely a whisper. "But in doing so, I set off a chain of events that I can never undo." Such tales, tragic and redemptive in equal measure, underscored the immense responsibility borne by those who traverse time. The temporal vanguard began to document these interconnected fates, compiling a vast chronicle of alterations, unintended consequences, and moral reckonings. Their records painted a picture of history as a living, breathing tapestry, one that could be rewoven with each step across time, but not without cost. The narrative they constructed was not merely academic, it was a call to remember that every moment counts, that every decision may be the pivot upon which the future turns. Between worlds, a journey to the edge of time, crossing the temporal threshold at last, the Vanguard decided that a controlled experiment was necessary, an attempt to cross the temporal threshold deliberately. In a remote laboratory built into the side of an abandoned observatory, Marcus and his colleagues prepared to activate their most ambitious device yet, a temporal portal generator. Their goal was to create a stable passage between the present and a chosen point in the past, and perhaps even glimpse the future. The day of the experiment was overcast, with heavy clouds obscuring the sun. Inside the lab, tension was palpable. The device, a labyrinth of circuits, crystals, and winding cables, hummed with potential energy. As the countdown began, every member of the Vanguard held their breath. At 0, a blinding flash filled the room, and a shimmering portal opened like a window into another world. For a fleeting moment, through the swirling vortex, images of a distant past, of ancient cities and forgotten battles, danced before their eyes. Then, unexpectedly, the portal flickered, and a soft, mournful sound emerged, a sound that resembled the cries of children and the distant toll of a bell. In that suspended instant, Marcus and his colleagues felt the full weight of what they were attempting. They were not merely observers of time, they were participants with the power to alter destinies. The portal stabilized, and through it, they saw a world that seemed both alien and achingly familiar, a past that might have been, a future that could be. Confessions from the other side. In the days following the experiment, the Vanguard began to receive unexpected transmissions, confessions from individuals who claimed to have traveled through time, appearing as if from the portal itself. One message, encoded in a series of rapid-fire bursts of data, was attributed to a traveler known only as Oracle. Oracle's confession was chilling. "I have seen the threads of fate unravel. I have witnessed empires fall not by natural decay, but by the calculated hands of those who dared to tamper with time." The message continued, recounting scenes of chaos and sorrow, a montage of events that defied linear explanation. Other transmissions came in the form of handwritten letters found tucked away in old scientific journals, containing accounts of journeys into eras marked by both hope and despair. One letter, dated 1923, in an indecipherable script, detailed the tragic fate of a family whose future was irreversibly altered by a single act of temporal interference. These confessions, both digital and analog, began to form a mosaic, a collection of voices from the margins of time, each bearing witness to the burden of forbidden travel. The ethics of altering history. As the Vanguard delved deeper into these confessions, a profound ethical dilemma emerged. If time can be traversed and even manipulated, what responsibility do those who possess such power bear? Every alteration, no matter how minute, carries with it unforeseen consequences. The confessions revealed that some travelers, in their desperate attempts to avert disasters, had inadvertently sown the seeds of new tragedies. The group debated long into the night, weighing the moral implications of their research. "We are the keepers of fate," said Kronos in one impassioned speech, "and with that comes the duty to preserve the natural order. Every act of intervention must be measured, for the cost is incalculable. The debate was not merely academic, it affected every member of the vanguard on a personal level. Some, like Marcus, were tormented by guilt over the memory gaps and altered destinies they had witnessed. Others, like Nova, clung to the hope that by understanding time, they could eventually right the wrongs of history. The ethical quandary was at once exhilarating and paralyzing, a reminder that the power to change time was both a gift and a curse. The ties that bind past, present, and future in a quiet moment of reflection, the vanguard compiled their findings into what they called the Chrono Codex, a document that sought to map the intricate web of cause and effect spanning centuries. The Codex revealed startling connections. A decision made in ancient Sparta might echo in modern political upheavals. A minor act of deception in medieval Europe could have set the stage for global conflicts. The more they studied, the more they realized that time was not a linear sequence, but a tapestry of intertwined destinies. Each traveler's confession was a thread in that tapestry, a record of choices that could never be undone. The Codex became both a scientific treatise and a moral manifesto. It argued that while the temptation to alter time might be irresistible, the inherent uncertainty of every action demands humility and restraint. The future is unwritten, the Codex proclaimed, and every alteration is a risk not only to our own lives, but to the entire fabric of existence. The uncertain horizon the future unveiled, glimpses of what may be time, as the vanguard discovered, is as mutable as a shifting sand dune. In a daring new experiment, Marcus activated the portal once again, this time with the intent of peering briefly into the future. What they saw defied expectation. Images of a world transformed, cities soaring with shimmering spires, societies united by technology and empathy, yet also scenes of conflict and isolation. One particularly vivid vision showed a future where humanity had harnessed the power of time to prevent calamities, only to face unforeseen consequences as a new form of digital warfare erupted. These visions, transmitted in bursts of flickering light and fragmented data, left the team both hopeful and horrified. Nova recalled the haunting image of a child, eyes wide with wonder and terror, standing amid ruins that might once have been a thriving metropolis. "The future is a delicate balance," she whispered, "and every decision we make today echoes into tomorrow." The future, it seemed, was not a fixed destination, but an ever-evolving horizon, shaped by the choices of the past and the present. The price of knowledge with every experiment and every confession, the weight of the vanguard's knowledge grew heavier. The group began to experience inexplicable side effects, gaps in memory, sudden bouts of déjà vu, and the persistent feeling that they were being watched from the edges of time. Kronos, whose confessions had long been the moral backbone of the group, became increasingly withdrawn. In a rare private conversation, he confided, "There are moments when I feel that by knowing too much, I have lost the ability to forget. The pain of seeing endless tragedies, of bearing the secrets of time, is a burden that never eases." This realization sparked a new line of inquiry. Is it possible that the very act of witnessing and recording temporal anomalies alters one's own timeline? The ethical and psychological dimensions of time travel were becoming as complex as the physical phenomena themselves. The team debated whether they should limit their excursions into the past and future to protect their own minds and the fragile balance of reality. A pact for the ages determined to set a framework for their activities. The temporal vanguard drafted a solemn pledge, a pact to use their abilities not for personal gain, but for the preservation of truth and the minimization of harm. The pact, inscribed in both digital code and handwritten scrolls, stated, "We are the keepers of time. We vow to act with humility, to respect the natural flow of history, and to bear the burden of our knowledge with dignity." Our mission is to observe, not to interfere, to record, not to rewrite. This pledge, which the members recited in unison beneath the soft glow of their laboratories' emergency lights, became the moral compass for the group. It was a promise to themselves and to the future that they would strive to be guardians rather than tyrants, to serve as witnesses to history rather than its manipulators. Epilogue. Between past and future, we stand in the quiet aftermath of their most recent experiment. As the portal's light dimmed and the echoes of time receded, the members of the temporal vanguard gathered one final time. They sat in a circle around a modest fire in their hidden underground chamber, each lost in thought. The conversations that night were subdued, reflective, an acknowledgement that they had glimpsed secrets that few in history ever dared to imagine. Marcus, now more determined than ever, spoke softly. We have seen the faces of tomorrow and the shadows of the past. We have borne witness to joys and sorrows that defy time. But our journey is not about altering fate. It is about understanding it and accepting the burdens that come with knowledge. Nova added, the future remains unwritten, and our role is to honor the integrity of time. We must remember that every choice has a price, and that our confessions, our memories, are the echoes of lives we touched and the futures we may have changed. Kronos, his voice barely audible, murmured, in the corridors of time, our secrets are both our curse and our salvation. Let us carry them with care, so that the passage between past and future may remain a bridge of truth rather than a chasm of deceit. In that final moment, as the flames danced and the night grew still, the temporal vanguard knew that they were but humble witnesses in the grand tapestry of existence. Their confessions, painful, wondrous, and eternal, would echo across the ages, a reminder that time, in all its infinite mystery, is a fragile gift that must be cherished, protected, and respected. Epilogue, a legacy carved in time. The story of the temporal vanguard spread quietly among those who dared to question the linear nature of reality. Their journals, digital archives, and whispered confessions became the subject of hushed academic debates and clandestine gatherings among conspiracy theorists. Though many dismissed their accounts as fanciful speculation, others found in their words a spark of truth, a call to remain ever vigilant against the seductive lure of altering destiny. Over time, new generations would inherit these secrets, studying the Chrono Codex and the timeless confessions as both cautionary tales and sources of inspiration. For while the power to travel through time carries with it unimaginable risks, it also offers a profound opportunity, the chance to learn from the past, to shape a future guided by wisdom rather than fear. In the end, the confessions of time travelers serve as a testament to our eternal quest for understanding, a reminder that every moment, every decision reverberates beyond the boundaries of the present. The secrets trapped between past and future are not merely relics of a forgotten age, they are the living, pulsing heart of existence, urging us to listen closely to the whispers in the starlight and to cherish the fragile continuum of time. May we, like the temporal vanguard, walk lightly through the corridors of time, ever mindful of the power of our choices, and forever guarding the truth that lies hidden in the space between what has been and what may yet come.